Admiral Kethavar stood before the massive viewing screen in his command ship. The stars looked the same as always, cold and distant. But today felt different. Today, everything would change for the Zephyrian hegemony. The communication officer turned toward him. Her blue skin was pale with worry. "Admiral, we have received another message from the ancient beacon network." Kethavar's forearms crossed behind his back. The ancients were gone for thousands of years. Only their warning systems remained, scattered across the galaxy like old ghosts. Most species listened to these warnings. The Zephyrians had always been different. "Play the message," he said. The room filled with static. Then came the voice, cold and mechanical. It spoke in the ancient language that all space-traveling races learned. "Warning. The Sol system is forbidden. The species known as humans must not be contacted. They are dangerous beyond measure. This is not a suggestion. This is a final warning. Stay away." The bridge crew looked nervous. Some whispered among themselves. Kethavar felt anger rise in his chest. The Zephyrian hegemony had conquered 12 star systems. They had defeated species with technology far beyond what these humans could possibly have. Dr. Yelan, his science advisor, stepped forward. She was old, even for a Zephyrian. Her skin had turned almost silver with age. "Admiral, perhaps we should listen this time. The ancients left these warnings for a reason." Kethavar turned to face her. His yellow eyes burned with ambition. "The ancients are dead, Doctor. They have been dead for millennia. We are alive. We are strong. We take what we need. But Admiral, we know nothing about these humans. The warning specifically mentions them by name. In all our exploration, we have never seen the ancients name a specific species before." The Admiral walked to his command chair. It was made from the bones of creatures from the first world they had conquered. He sat down and looked at his fleet through the viewing screen. 200 ships floated in formation around his flagship. Each ship carried enough firepower to destroy a moon. "Dr. Yelan, let me tell you what I know about humans," Kethavar said. "Our scouts have watched them for months. They are weak creatures. They have no natural armor, no claws, no venom. They cannot even breathe in most atmospheres without machines." He stood up and activated the holographic display in the center of the bridge. Images of humans appeared, walking around their cities and ships. They looked fragile compared to the Zephyrians. "Look at them," the Admiral continued. "They are smaller than us, weaker than us. Their technology is primitive. They still use chemical rockets for some of their ships. They fight among themselves constantly. They are divided into hundreds of small nations on their home world." Dr. Yelan studied the images carefully. "Admiral, sometimes the most dangerous predators do not look dangerous. On my homeworld, there was a small insect that could kill creatures 1,000 times its size." Kethavar laughed. The sound echoed through the bridge. "Doctor, we are not insects. We are the Zephyrian hegemony. We have plasma cannons that can melt asteroids. We have shields that can stop nuclear weapons. Our soldiers wear armor that makes them nearly invincible." He pointed at the human images again. "These creatures wear cloth and thin metal for protection. Their weapons shoot small pieces of metal. They are so weak that they die if they do not eat for a few days." The communication officer raised her hand. "Admiral, there is more to the ancient message. Play it." The mechanical voice spoke again. "The humans have been tested by their world in ways you cannot understand. They have survived extinction events that would destroy any other species. They do not surrender. They do not give up. They will follow you to the ends of the galaxy if you threaten their young. This is not about strength. This is about something much more dangerous." Kethavar waved his hand dismissively. "Fear tactics from a dead civilization. They probably made these warnings about every species they encountered." Dr. Yelan shook her head. "Admiral, our historical records show that the ancients only left specific warnings about 3 species in the entire galaxy. One destroyed itself in a civil war before we could contact them. Another lives in a region of space so dangerous that no one can reach them. The humans are the third." The Admiral considered this for a moment. Then he smiled, showing his sharp teeth. "Doctor, this makes the humans more valuable, not less. If the ancients feared them, they must have something worth taking. Resources, technology, weapons. Or they are dangerous in a way we do not understand." Kethvar turned to address his entire bridge crew. Officers, we have spent 2 years traveling to this region of space. We have invested enormous resources in this expedition. The High Command expects results. He activated the ship's communication system to address the entire fleet. Warriors of the hegemony, we stand at the edge of human space. Behind us lie our conquered worlds. Before us lies another victory. Yes, the ancients left warnings. But the ancients are dust. We are here. We are strong. We will take what is ours by right of conquest. Cheers echoed from the other ships. The Zephyrian warriors were eager for battle. They had been traveling for months with nothing to fight. Dr. Yelan approached the Admiral's chair one last time. Kethvar, I have served under you for many years. I have never questioned your decisions. But this feels different. The humans have had thousands of years to prepare for contact with other species. What if they are ready for us? The Admiral looked at her with something like affection. She had been his advisor since he was a young officer. Doctor, if they were truly dangerous, they would have conquered other worlds by now. Instead, they stay in their small system, fighting among themselves. They are exactly what they appear to be, a primitive species ready for conquest. He pressed a button on his chair. The fleet began to move toward the Sol system. Besides, we have studied their communications. They spend most of their time arguing about trivial matters. They cannot even agree on how to organize their own planet. How could they possibly stand against a united fleet? As the Zephyrian ships entered human space, Admiral Kethvar felt confident in his decision. The warnings had been ignored before, and the hegemony had always emerged victorious. Today would be no different. Dr. Yelan returned to her station, but her hands shook as she worked. She had learned to trust the Admiral's instincts over the years, but something about this mission felt wrong. The ancient warnings had never been specific before. They had never mentioned a species by name. She pulled up the long-range sensors and began scanning the human system. At first, everything looked normal. A few space stations, some mining operations, ships moving between planets. Then she noticed something strange. The human ships were not running from the Zephyrian fleet. They were moving toward it. Admiral, she called out. The humans are not retreating. They appear to be organizing some kind of response. Kethvar laughed again. Let them come, Doctor. We will show them what real warriors look like. The Zephyrian fleet continued its advance, confident in their superior numbers and technology. None of them knew that human observers had been watching their approach for weeks. None of them understood that every move they made was being recorded and analyzed. As they traveled deeper into the Sol system, Admiral Kethvar thought about the victory celebration he would have when this was over. He would be remembered as the conqueror of Earth. His name would be spoken with respect for generations. He had no idea that he was about to become a cautionary tale instead. The Luna Base Communication Center was quiet except for the soft humming of computers. Admiral Sarah Chen sat in her command chair, watching the Zephyrian fleet approach on the main screen. She had been expecting them for 3 weeks. Admiral, incoming transmission from the alien fleet, reported Lieutenant Williams. His voice was steady, but Chen could see the tension in his shoulders. Put it through, Lieutenant. The screen flickered, and Admiral Kethvar's image appeared. Chen had studied Zephyrian physiology in preparation for this moment. The alien was tall, with blue skin and 4 arms. His yellow eyes showed the confidence of someone who had never lost a battle. I am Admiral Kethvar of the Zephyrian hegemony, the alien said in accented but clear English. I speak to the leaders of the human species. You will surrender your worlds and submit to hegemony rule. You have 1 hour to respond. Chen stood up slowly. She was shorter than most of her officers, with gray hair and lines around her eyes. She had spent 30 years in the Earth Defense Force fighting in 3 different wars. She looked directly into the camera. I am Admiral Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Force. Thank you for the introduction, Admiral Kethvar. However, we must respectfully decline your offer. Kethvar's forearms gestured impatiently. Human, you do not understand. This is not a negotiation. We have 200 warships. You cannot resist us. Chen smiled slightly. Admiral, I believe there has been a misunderstanding. We are not planning to resist you. We are planning to destroy you. The Zephyrian admiral laughed, the sound harsh through the speakers. Destroy us? With what? We have monitored your communications. Your largest ships carry weapons that would barely scratch our shields. Admiral, before we continue this conversation, I need to show you something. Chen nodded to Lieutenant Williams. Please display the asteroid designated target Alpha 7. The screen split. Half showed Kethvar's face, and half showed a large asteroid floating in space. It was roughly the size of a mountain, spinning slowly against the backdrop of stars. This asteroid is located approximately 50,000 kilometers from your current position, Chen explained. We would like to demonstrate something for you. Kethavar's expression changed to one of amusement. Are you going to throw rocks at us, human? Our shields can deflect much larger objects than that. Chen pressed a button on her chair. Fire. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then space lit up with a brilliant flash. When the light faded, the asteroid was gone. Not destroyed or broken apart, but completely vaporized. Where it had been, only empty space remained. The bridge of Chen's command ship was silent. Even her own crew had not expected such complete destruction. On the split screen, she could see Kethvar's face had gone pale blue. That was one of our smaller defensive platforms, Chen said calmly. We have been watching your fleet since you entered our outer sensor range 2 weeks ago. Did you really think we would not notice 200 ships entering our system? Kethvar's voice had lost some of its confidence. Impossible. Our sensors detected no weapons platforms in this region. Admiral, humans have been fighting wars for thousands of years. We learned long ago that the best weapons are the ones your enemy cannot see. Chen walked closer to the camera. That asteroid you just watched disappear was actually a camouflage defense station. We built it 3 years ago when our long-range scouts first detected your empire expanding in this direction. On the Zephyrian flagship, Dr. Yilan was frantically working at her sensor station. Admiral, I am detecting massive energy readings throughout the system. Structures that I originally classified as asteroids and space debris are showing artificial signatures. Chen could hear the conversation through the open communication channel. Your science officer is correct, Admiral. What you see is empty. Space is actually a carefully prepared battlefield. We have had decades to prepare for this moment. Kethvar regained some of his composure. One hidden weapon does not make you a threat, human. We still outnumber you greatly. Do you? Chen asked. Computer, show Admiral Kethvar our current fleet positions. The space around the Zephyrian fleet suddenly lit up with identification markers. Dozens of human ships appeared on sensors, emerging from behind asteroids, planets, and even from within the solar corona itself. They had been hiding throughout the entire system. As you can see, Admiral, you are currently surrounded, Chen said. Our ships have been in position for days, waiting for your arrival. Every one of your vessels is currently targeted by multiple weapons systems. Dr. Yilan's voice was urgent now. Admiral, we are detecting targeting lasers from 17 different directions. They have been tracking us since we entered the inner system. Kethvar stared at the tactical display in disbelief. How did you hide so many ships? Our sensors are among the best in the galaxy. Chen returned to her command chair. Admiral, let me explain something about humans. We are very good at 3 things: hiding, fighting, and dying for what we believe in. Your species conquers worlds through superior technology and numbers. We survive through cunning and determination. She gestured to the tactical display. Every human ship you see has a crew that volunteered for this mission. They know the odds. They know some of them will not survive. They do not care. Do you know why? Kethvar was silent, staring at the overwhelming tactical situation his fleet now faced. Because you threatened our home, Admiral. You threatened our families, our children, our future. Humans do not negotiate with threats to our young. Lieutenant Williams approached Chen's chair. Admiral, we are receiving surrender requests from 3 Zephyrian vessels. Chen shook her head. Negative, Lieutenant. No surrenders will be accepted from individual ships. This is an all-or-nothing situation. She looked back at Kethvar. Admiral, I am going to give you the same choice you gave us. You have 1 hour to withdraw your entire fleet from our system. If you do not, we will destroy every single ship. Kethvar's military training took over. You are bluffing, human. You could not have built so many weapons without our intelligence networks detecting them. Chen smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Admiral, Your intelligence networks have been compromised for months. Every piece of information you have about human capabilities has been carefully selected by our intelligence services. We wanted you to come here. We wanted you to underestimate us. She stood up again. You see, Admiral, we learned something important from studying your empire. You always attack species that appear weak and isolated. So we appeared weak and isolated. We made sure your scouts saw exactly what we wanted them to see. Dr. Yilan's voice was barely a whisper now. Admiral, the energy readings from the human weapons are unlike anything in our databases. The weapon that destroyed the asteroid had power output comparable to a stellar explosion. Chen nodded. Your science officer is very observant. Humans have been studying stellar physics for a long time, Admiral. We learned how to harness the power of stars decades ago. The question is, are you prepared to face weapons powered by the sun itself? Kethavar looked at his tactical display again. His fleet, which had seemed so powerful an hour ago, now looked hopelessly outmatched. The humans had turned his entire invasion into a trap. What do you want? He asked finally. We want you to leave, Chen said simply. We want you to go back to your empire and tell them what happened here. We want every species in the galaxy to know that Earth is protected. She paused, letting the weight of her words sink in. But most importantly, Admiral, we want you to understand that this was us being merciful. We could have destroyed your fleet the moment you entered our system. We chose to give you a chance to leave with your lives. Kethavar was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was different. The arrogance was gone, replaced by something like respect. Admiral Chen, if we withdraw, how do we know you will not pursue us? Chen's expression softened slightly. Because, Admiral, we are not conquerors. We are defenders. We do not want your worlds or your resources. We want to be left alone to live our lives in peace. She walked back to the camera. But understand this. If any ship from your empire ever threatens human space again, we will not be so generous. We will not give warnings. We will not offer chances to withdraw. We will simply destroy you. The communication ended. On Luna Base, Admiral Chen turned to her communications officer. Lieutenant, send a message to all fleet commanders. Maintain current positions but do not engage unless fired upon. As she watched the Zephyrian fleet beginning to turn away from Earth, Chen allowed herself a small smile. The trap had worked perfectly, but she knew this was only the beginning. Word of what happened here would spread throughout the galaxy. Some species would be warned away. Others would see it as a challenge. Either way, humanity was no longer hidden. For better or worse, they had announced their presence to the galaxy. Admiral Kethavar stood in his private quarters staring at the tactical reports scattered across his desk. 3 weeks had passed since the humiliating encounter at Earth. His fleet had withdrawn, but the shame burned in his chest like acid. Doctor. Yilan entered without knocking, something she had never done before. Her silver skin looked almost white with exhaustion. Admiral, we need to talk. About what, Doctor? About how the humans made fools of us? About how our intelligence was completely wrong? Kethavar's voice was bitter. About why we need to stay away from human space, she said, sitting down without being invited. I have been studying everything we recorded during our encounter. Admiral, we barely escaped with our lives. Kethavar turned to face her. They were bluffing, Doctor. No species could build that many hidden weapons without someone noticing. Dr. Yilan activated her portable display unit. Images of the human tactical formation appeared in the air between them. Admiral, look at these positioning patterns. Every human ship was placed with mathematical precision. They had calculated exactly where we would enter their system and planned accordingly. She highlighted different sections of the formation. This is not random placement. This is the result of decades of planning and preparation. They have been expecting us, or someone like us, for a very long time. Kethavar studied the images. Even he could see the obvious tactical superiority of the human positions. So they are good at planning. That does not make them invincible. Admiral, that weapon that destroyed the asteroid generated more energy than our entire fleet combined. And they called it one of their smaller defensive platforms. Dr. Yilan's voice was steady, but her hands shook slightly. I ran the calculations 17 times. The power requirements for that weapon are beyond our current technology. The admiral walked to his viewing port and looked out at his fleet. Many of his ships showed signs of hasty retreat. Some had been damaged when they tried to probe human defenses during their withdrawal. Doctor, what are you suggesting? That we abandon our expansion into this region of space because one species has better weapons than expected? Dr. Yilan stood up and joined him at the viewing port. Admiral, I am suggesting that we listen to the ancient warnings. The humans are not just another species to be conquered, they are something else entirely. She activated another display, showing intercepted human communications. I have been analyzing their language patterns and cultural references. Admiral, these creatures have been fighting wars continuously for their entire recorded history. Not just wars between nations, but wars that threatened their complete extinction. Kethvar frowned. Many species have histories of warfare. Not like this, Dr. Yilan said. Most species fight until one side wins or until resources run out. Humans fight until everyone is dead, or the threat is completely eliminated. They have a concept they call total war, where entire populations become military targets. She showed him images intercepted from human historical databases. Cities reduced to rubble. Entire continents burned. Weapons capable of destroying all. Life on a planet. Admiral, they developed weapons that could destroy their own world, and then they built thousands of them. They pointed these weapons at themselves for decades, ready to commit species suicide rather than allow their enemies to win. Kethvar studied the images with growing unease. These are just historical records, Doctor. Ancient conflicts. No. Admiral, these weapons still exist. The humans maintain arsenals capable of destroying their planet dozens of times over. They call it mutually assured destruction. They are so comfortable with the idea of extinction that they use it as a peacekeeping strategy. Dr. Yilan activated another set of files. I also intercepted their military training protocols. Admiral, human soldiers are taught that surrender is acceptable only to protect civilians. Military personnel are expected to fight until death. She showed him videos of human military exercises. Soldiers advancing through simulated nuclear battlefields, training scenarios where entire units sacrifice themselves to complete missions, combat drills practiced in environments that would kill most species instantly. Look at their training, Admiral. They practice fighting in conditions that would incapacitate our warriors immediately. Extreme heat, toxic atmospheres, radiation, levels that would be lethal to us. And they do this routinely. Kethvar was quiet for a long moment. Doctor, you are describing a species of madmen. No, Admiral. I am describing a species that evolved on a world trying to kill them. They call their planet a death world, and they are not exaggerating. Dr. Yilan pulled up geological data about Earth. Their planet has experienced multiple extinction events, ice ages that lasted for millennia, volcanic eruptions that blocked out their sun for years, asteroid impacts that destroyed most life on the surface. She highlighted different time periods in Earth's history. Any one of these events would have eliminated most species completely. The humans survived all of them. Not just survived, but adapted and became stronger. Kethvar looked at the data with growing concern. How do you know all this? Because they broadcast it freely, Admiral. They are proud of their survival. They study their own near extinctions and learn from them. They have entire scientific disciplines dedicated to understanding how to survive planetary disasters. Dr. Yilan activated one final display. But this is what worries me most, Admiral. I intercepted their military strategic planning databases. They have detailed invasion protocols for every type of terrain and environment imaginable. The display showed human military manuals, desert warfare, jungle warfare, urban combat, space battles, underwater operations, combat in vacuum, fighting on high-gravity worlds, battles in toxic atmospheres. Admiral, they have tactical manuals for fighting in conditions that most species cannot even survive in. They plan for every possible scenario, including complete orbital bombardment of their own positions. Kethvar felt a chill run through his body. They plan to fight even if their own worlds are destroyed. Yes, Admiral. They have contingency, plans for continuing military operations from asteroids, from deep space, even from generation ships if their entire system is lost. Dr. Yilan's voice was barely above a whisper. They have planned for the possibility that they might need to fight a war that lasts for centuries. The Admiral sat down heavily in his chair. Doctor, what kind of species thinks like this? A species that has been tested by extinction and refused to die, she replied. Admiral, I believe the ancient warnings were not about human technology or military strength. They were about human psychology. She pulled up the intercepted communication from Admiral Chen again. Listen to how she spoke to us. No fear, no anger, just calm determination. She was not bluffing about destroying our entire fleet. She was stating a simple fact. Kethvar replayed the conversation in his mind. The human admiral had spoken about destroying his fleet the way most people discussed routine maintenance. Doctor, what do you recommend? Dr. Yalan looked out at the stars. Admiral, I recommend we return to hegemony space and report that this region is unsuitable for conquest. We tell High Command that the humans possess defensive capabilities beyond our current technology, and if High Command orders us to attack anyway. Dr. Yalan was quiet for a long moment. Then we follow orders, Admiral. But we should request additional fleets. Many additional fleets. Kethvar stood up and walked back to the viewing port. In the distance, he could see the edge of human space. It looked peaceful from here. Empty. Harmless. Doctor, how many ships do you think we would need to successfully invade human space? Dr. Yilan ran calculations on her display unit. Based on what we observed, Admiral, I estimate we would need at least 10 times our current fleet size, possibly more. 10 times? Kethvar could not hide his shock. That would require half the entire hegemony navy. Yes, Admiral, and that assumes the humans do not have additional defensive capabilities that they did not reveal to us. The Admiral thought about the conversation with Admiral Chen. The human had specifically mentioned that they were being merciful. What did that mean? What were they not showing? Doctor, in your professional opinion, what would happen if we attacked the humans with our current force? Dr. Yilan did not hesitate. We would lose, Admiral. Not just lose the battle, but lose the entire fleet. I do not believe any of our ships would survive. Kethvar nodded slowly. For the first time in his military career, he was facing an enemy that he could not defeat through superior numbers or technology. The humans had turned the concept of warfare into something he did not understand. Set course for hegemony space. Doctor, we need to report to High Command immediately. As the Zephyrian fleet turned away from human territory, Admiral Kethvar could not shake the feeling that they had just encountered something that would change the galaxy forever. The humans were not just another species to be conquered or avoided. They were something entirely new. High Commander Zetherol stood before the assembled War Council in the Great Hall of the Hegemony homeworld. His massive form dominated the room, 8 feet tall with 4 powerful arms and skin that had turned deep blue with age and authority. Around the circular table sat the most powerful military leaders in Zephyrian space. Admiral Kethvar finished his report and stepped back. The silence in the room was heavy with tension. Finally, High Commander Zetherol spoke. Admiral, you are telling this council that 200 warships retreated from a single star system because the enemy destroyed 1 asteroid? Kethvar kept his eyes focused straight ahead. High Commander, the tactical situation was untenable. We were completely surrounded by hidden weapons platforms and enemy vessels. Our intelligence had been compromised for months. General Voxhan, commander of the Hegemony ground forces, laughed harshly. Surrounded by humans? These creatures have no natural weapons. They cannot survive in most environments without artificial assistance. You retreated from prey animals. Dr. Yilan stepped forward. General, may I present the tactical analysis? The holographic display activated, showing the human defensive formation. The assembled commanders studied the positions in silence. As you can see, Dr. Yilan explained, the humans had achieved complete tactical superiority before we even knew they were there. Every approach vector was covered. Every escape route was blocked. Admiral Korthvan, commander of the Eastern Fleets, examined the display closely. This level of coordination suggests advanced planning and communication systems. How long had they been preparing for our arrival? Based on the positioning and construction of their hidden platforms, at least 3 years, Dr. Yilan replied. Possibly longer. High Commander Zethral studied the display with growing interest. Show me the weapon that destroyed the asteroid. Dr. Yilan activated the recording. The assembled commanders watched as the mountain-sized rock simply vanished, in a flash of light. Energy output analysis indicates power levels exceeding anything in our current weapons database, she reported. The humans achieved complete matter conversion. No debris remained. The room was quiet for several minutes. Finally, General Voxhan spoke. One powerful weapon does not make them invincible. We have faced advanced technology before. High Commander, Zethral held up one of his 4 hands for silence. Admiral Kethvar, in your professional opinion, could our current fleet defeat the human defenses? Kethvar hesitated. His military career depended on his answer, but his life might depend on his honesty. High Commander, I believe we would suffer catastrophic losses, possibly total fleet destruction. Unacceptable, declared Admiral Korthvan. The hegemony has never retreated from inferior species. Our reputation throughout the galaxy depends on our military supremacy. Dr. Yilan activated another display. With respect, Admiral, I am not certain the humans are inferior. Our analysis of their intercepted communications reveals disturbing information about their capabilities. She showed the commanders examples of human military doctrine, images of weapons testing, records of their wars, training footage of human soldiers. These creatures have been fighting continuously for their entire recorded history, she explained. They have developed military tactics and weapons specifically designed for total warfare. General Voxhan examined the human military footage with interest. They appear to be competent warriors, but they are still physically weak compared to our soldiers. General, physical strength may not be relevant, Dr. Yilan said. Observe their tactical preferences. The display showed human soldiers using explosives to destroy bridges while they were still standing on them, pilots flying aircraft into enemy targets, infantry advancing through artillery bombardments that would kill most species instantly. They routinely sacrifice their own lives to achieve tactical objectives, Dr. Yilan continued. This is not desperation or poor planning. This is standard doctrine. High Commander Zethral leaned forward in his chair. You are saying they prefer to die rather than retreat? I am saying they do not distinguish between acceptable losses and total losses the way we do, she replied. They calculate military objectives based on strategic value, not survival rates. Admiral Korthvan shook his head. Suicidal behavior is a sign of inferior reasoning. It makes them predictable and easy to defeat. Dr. Yilan activated another recording. Admiral, this is from their historical archives, a military action they call the Battle of Thermopylae. The display showed ancient human warriors facing an enemy force dozens of times larger. Instead of retreating, they fought until every defender was dead. They held their position for 3 days against overwhelming odds, Dr. Yilan explained. None of them survived, but they delayed the enemy advance long enough for their allies to prepare defenses. She showed more examples. Human defenders who destroyed their own cities rather than surrender them. Soldiers who continued fighting even when mortally wounded. Entire populations that chose death over conquest. General, they do not fight to win. They fight to prevent their enemies from winning. There is a significant difference. High Commander Zethral stood up and walked to the large viewing screen that showed the stars beyond their homeworld. Dr. Yilan, what is your assessment of human psychology? High Commander, I believe the humans are what their planet made them. They evolved on a world that tried to kill them repeatedly. They survived by becoming impossible to completely destroy. She pulled up geological data about Earth again. Their planet has experienced multiple mass extinction events. Each time, the humans adapted and continued. They learned to survive in any condition, fight in any environment, and never give up. General Voxhan studied the data carefully. Doctor, are you suggesting that we cannot defeat them? I am suggesting that defeating them and eliminating them are 2 different objectives, she replied. We might win battles, but they will continue fighting until they are all dead, or we are all dead. Admiral Korthvan activated his own tactical display. Even if that is true, we have superior numbers. The hegemony controls 12 star systems. How many worlds do the humans control? 1 system, Admiral. but population analysis indicates they have over 7 billion individuals. The number caused stunned silence in the room. Most Zephyrian worlds had populations in the millions. The humans had more people in one system than the entire hegemony. 7 billion warriors? General Voxhan asked quietly. Potentially, yes, Dr. Yilan replied. Their historical records show that they mobilize entire populations during existential conflicts. Men, women, children, elderly, all become part of the war effort. High Commander Zethral returned to his chair. Show me more of their weapons. Dr. Yilan displayed human nuclear arsenals, chemical weapons, biological warfare agents, orbital, bombardment systems, weapons designed to destroy entire planets. High Commander, they have developed weapons specifically designed to eliminate all life on a world, including their own world. They call these weapons doomsday devices, and they maintain them in active status. She showed launch facilities and missile silos. They have enough nuclear weapons to destroy any planet multiple times over, and they have demonstrated willingness to use them. Admiral Kethvar spoke up. High Commander, during our encounter, the human admiral mentioned that they were being merciful. I believe they could have destroyed our entire fleet before we even knew they were there. Why did they not attack immediately? Asked General Voxhan. Dr. Yilan considered the question. Based on their behavioral patterns, I believe they wanted to send a message. They wanted us to return home and warn others to stay away. High Commander. Zethral was quiet for a long time, studying all the data. Finally, he spoke. Council, I am faced with a difficult decision. We can attack the humans with overwhelming force and likely achieve victory, but the cost would be enormous. He stood up again. Or we can accept that some regions of space are not worth conquering. Admiral Korthovan protested. High Commander, if we retreat from one inferior species, others will see weakness. Our entire empire could be threatened. Admiral, if we attack the humans and lose half our fleet, our empire will definitely be threatened, the High Commander replied. I must consider all possibilities. He turned to Dr. Yilan. Doctor, what would happen if we simply left the humans alone? Based on their behavioral patterns, they would likely continue to ignore us unless we threaten them directly, she replied. They appear to be primarily defensive in nature. General Voxhan slammed his fist on the table. Defensive? They have weapons capable of destroying planets. Yes, General, but they have had those weapons for decades and have never used them for conquest. They could have expanded into neighboring systems long ago, but they chose not to. High Commander Zethral made his decision. Admiral Kethvar, you will take a fleet of 1,000 ships to human space. You will demonstrate hegemony strength and demand their surrender. Kethvar felt his blood turn cold. High Commander, I respectfully request additional support. Dr. Yilan's analysis suggests, Admiral, you have your orders. We cannot allow one species to dictate terms to the hegemony, regardless of their capabilities. As the War Council dispersed, Dr. Yilan approached Admiral Kethvar. Admiral, I will prepare detailed tactical analysis for the fleet commanders. But I must warn you, I do not believe 1,000 ships will be enough. Kethvar looked out at the stars where his fate waited. Doctor, I do not believe 10,000 ships would be enough, but orders are orders. 2 weeks later, the largest fleet in hegemony history departed for human space, carrying over 1 million Zephyrian warriors to what many of them believed would be their final battle. Admiral Sarah Chen stood in the war room beneath Luna Base, surrounded by holographic displays showing enemy fleet positions. The Zephyrian armada was massive, 1,000 ships arranged in perfect formation, advancing steadily toward Earth. It was the largest invasion force humanity had ever faced. Admiral, long-range sensors confirm fleet composition, reported Captain Martinez. Heavy battleships, carrier vessels, and what appear to be planetary bombardment platforms. Chen studied the tactical display calmly. Around her, dozens of officers worked at their stations, coordinating the defense of human space. The atmosphere was tense but controlled. Everyone knew what was at stake. Captain, activate Protocol 7, Chen ordered. Captain Martinez hesitated. Ma'am, are you certain? Protocol 7 has never been tested in actual combat. Captain, we are facing extinction. This is exactly what Protocol 7 was designed for. Chen's voice was steady, but her eyes showed the weight of her decision. Throughout human space, hidden installations began to power up. Weapons platforms that had been disguised as asteroids and space debris revealed their true nature. Manufacturing facilities buried deep inside moons began producing war materials at an incredible rate. On Mars, General Thompson received the activation order in his underground command center. All units, this is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill. Protocol 7 is now active. The red planet's surface began to change. What had appeared to be mining operations were actually weapons emplacements. Massive railguns emerged from beneath the Martian ice caps. Launch facilities opened to reveal missiles designed for interplanetary warfare. In the asteroid belt, mining station Gamma 7 shed its disguise. The facility had never been a mining operation at all. It was a weapons factory, capable of producing antimatter warheads and kinetic projectiles. Workers who had spent years pretending to be miners revealed their true nature as military engineers and weapons specialists. Admiral Kethvar watched these developments with growing dread from his flagship. Dr. Yelan worked frantically at her sensor station trying to understand what they were seeing. Admiral, energy readings throughout the human system are spiking beyond our measurement capabilities, she reported. Structures that registered as civilian installations are showing military-grade power signatures. Kethvar studied the tactical display. The humans had somehow hidden an entire military infrastructure throughout their system. Every planet, every moon, every major asteroid was revealing weapons installations. How is this possible? He asked. Our intelligence indicated this was a peaceful system focused on trade and exploration. Dr. Yelan pulled up their intelligence files. Admiral, I believe every piece of information we received about human capabilities was deliberately falsified. They have been preparing for this invasion for years. On Earth's surface, President Williams addressed the global population from the Emergency Command Center. Citizens of Earth, we face an invasion by an alien empire that seeks to enslave our world. But we are not the same species that struggled to reach the stars decades ago. We are ready. Around the planet, military installations that had been hidden for generations revealed themselves. Orbital defense platforms rose from the ocean floors. Mountain ranges opened to reveal massive weapon arrays. Cities transformed as their peaceful facades fell away to show defensive positions. The Zephyrian fleet continued its advance, but Admiral Kethvar could see that his tactical advantage was disappearing with each passing hour. The humans were not just defending their system, they were turning it into a fortress. Admiral, incoming communication from the human admiral, reported his communications officer. Admiral Chen's image appeared on the main screen. Behind her, Kethvar could see a command center filled with activity. Human officers moved with purposeful efficiency, managing what appeared to be thousands of defensive installations. Admiral Kethvar, welcome back to human space, Chen said. I see you brought more ships this time. Admiral Chen, you will surrender immediately or face the full might of the hegemony fleet, Kethvar replied, though his voice lacked its previous confidence. Chen smiled, but it was not a pleasant expression. Admiral, I need to show you something before you continue with your invasion. The display changed to show the space around the Zephyrian fleet. Suddenly, hundreds of new contacts appeared on sensors. Human ships emerged from behind planets, from within asteroid fields, and from hiding places throughout the outer system. You are currently outnumbered 3-1, Chen explained calmly, but that is not what I wanted to show you. The display changed again. This time it showed weapons platforms throughout the solar system, all targeting the Zephyrian fleet. The number of targeting lasers was overwhelming. Admiral, you are currently being targeted by over 10,000 individual weapons systems. Each one is capable of destroying a ship your size. Many of them are capable of destroying your entire fleet. Dr. Yelan's voice was barely a whisper. Admiral, the power readings. Some of these weapons are generating energy equivalent to stellar output. Chen continued speaking. Admiral Kethvar, I offered you mercy once before. You chose to return with a larger fleet. This time, there will be no mercy. Kethvar felt his command authority slipping away as fear spread through his fleet. Admiral, Chen, surely we can negotiate. No, Chen said simply. You came here to conquer our world and enslave our people. There are no negotiations with slavers. She paused, letting the weight of her words sink in. However, I will offer you one final choice. You can surrender your entire fleet unconditionally, or you can be destroyed where you stand. Surrender? Cathvar could barely comprehend the concept. The Zephyrian hegemony had never surrendered to anyone. Yes, Admiral. Complete and unconditional surrender. Your ships will be disarmed. Your crews will be processed as prisoners of war. Your empire will be contacted and informed that any further aggression toward human space will result in immediate retaliation. Admiral Chen leaned forward slightly. Or you can fight, Admiral. But understand that if you choose to fight, none of your ships will survive. None of your crews will return home. Your empire will receive only the wreckage of your fleet as a message. Dr. Yilan activated her private communication with Admiral Cathvar. Admiral, our tactical analysis indicates Admiral Chen is not bluffing. The weapons targeting our fleet could destroy us completely. Cathvar looked at his own tactical display. His 1,000 ships, which had seemed so powerful when they left hegemony space, now looked pitifully small compared to the defensive network the humans had revealed. Admiral Chen, if we surrender, what guarantee do we have that you will honor the terms? Chen's expression softened slightly. Admiral, humans honor agreements made in good faith. Your crews will be treated according to our rules of war. You will be given adequate food, medical care, and living conditions. She gestured to someone off-screen. In fact, we have prepared facilities for exactly this situation. We have been expecting you for some time. Cathvar realized the humans had planned for his surrender before he had even arrived. They had prepared prisoner of war facilities, negotiated surrender terms, and established protocols for handling captured Zephyrian forces. Admiral, you have 60 seconds to decide, Chen said. Surrender or die. Those are your only options. Throughout the Zephyrian fleet, ship commanders waited for their admiral's decision. Many of them had families back home. Some had children, who would never know their fathers if this battle was fought. Dr. Yilan approached Cathvar's command chair. Admiral, there is no shame in surrendering to a superior force. Our duty is to preserve the lives of our crews. Cathvar thought about High Commander Zethrol and the War Council. They had sent him here believing that superior numbers would guarantee victory. They had no idea what the humans were truly capable of. Admiral Chen, he said finally, the Zephyrian fleet surrenders. The words felt like poison in his mouth, but he knew they were the only words that would save the lives of his 1,000,000 warriors. Very good, Admiral, Chen replied. Please power down your weapons and prepare to receive boarding parties. Your cooperation in this process will be noted and appreciated. As Zephyrian ships began shutting down their weapon systems, Admiral Cathvar realized that everything had changed. The humans were not just another species to be conquered or avoided. They were the new power in this region of space, and the hegemony would have to learn to live with that reality. 6 months had passed since the surrender of the Zephyrian fleet. Admiral Cathvar sat in his quarters aboard the human prison ship Redemption, staring out at Earth through the reinforced viewing port. The blue and green world looked peaceful, from space, nothing like the fortress it had revealed itself to be. The door chimed and Admiral Sarah Chen entered. This had become a weekly routine, informal conversations between the two commanders. Cathvar had learned to respect the human, Admiral, even if he did not understand her. Admiral Cathvar, how are you adjusting to the new quarters? Chen asked, taking a seat across from him. The accommodations were better than many military barracks Cathvar had lived in during his career. Clean, comfortable, with access to entertainment and communication systems. The humans had been surprisingly generous with their prisoners. Well enough, Admiral Chen, though I confess I do not understand your people. Chen poured herself coffee from a thermal container she had brought. The smell reminded Cathvar of his first taste of human culture. Everything about these creatures was different from what he had expected. What puzzles you most? She asked. Cathvar gestured toward Earth. You had weapons capable of destroying my entire fleet before we even fired a shot. You could have ended the battle in minutes. Instead, you gave us chances to surrender. treated our wounded, provided comfortable imprisonment for our crews. Chen sipped her coffee thoughtfully. Admiral, what would destroying your fleet have accomplished? Victory. Complete elimination of the threat to your world. And what would happen next? Chen asked. Your high command would send another fleet, then another. Eventually, we would have to destroy your entire civilization to ensure our safety. Kethavar frowned. Is that not what conquerors do? Chen set down her coffee and looked directly at him. Admiral, we are not conquerors. We are defenders. There is a crucial difference. She activated a small display unit and showed him images of human history. My species has seen what happens when powerful civilizations believe conquest is their right. We have been conquerors ourselves, and we have learned from our mistakes. The images showed human wars throughout history, empires rising and falling, cities destroyed and rebuilt, millions of lives lost to the ambitions of leaders who believed might made right. We learned that conquest creates more enemies than it eliminates. Chen continued. Every world you conquer has children who grow up planning revenge. Every species you enslave will eventually find a way to fight back. Kethavar studied the historical images. But you defeated us completely. You could rule this region of space, if you chose. Chen laughed, a sound that Kethavar had learned to appreciate. Admiral, we have no interest in ruling anyone. We have enough trouble governing ourselves. She showed him more recent images. Human colonies, space stations, research, facilities. We are explorers, Admiral. We want to learn about the universe, discover new worlds, meet new species. Conquest would interfere with those goals. Then why did you build such powerful weapons? Why prepare for war if you do not intend to fight? Chen's expression became serious. Because sometimes, Admiral, the only way to preserve peace is to be prepared for war. We built those weapons to protect ourselves, not to threaten others. She stood and walked to the viewing port. Do you know what we discovered when we first detected your empire expanding in this direction? Kethavar shook his head. We studied your history, your methods, your treatment of conquered species. Chen's voice carried a note of sadness. We learned that you enslaved entire populations, stripped worlds of their resources, destroyed cultures that had existed for thousands of years. She turned back to face him. Admiral, we could not allow that to happen to us. So we prepared. Kethavar was quiet for a moment. Admiral Chen, what will happen to my crews, to my empire? Chen returned to her seat. Your crews will remain here until we can negotiate a proper peace treaty with your high command. They will be treated well, given useful work, and allowed to communicate with their families. She paused. As for your empire, that depends on your high command's response to our proposed agreement. Kethavar leaned forward. What agreement? Chen activated another display, showing a detailed document. A non-aggression pact. Your empire agrees to respect human territorial boundaries. We agree to respect yours. No conquest attempts in either direction. And if High Command refuses? Chen's expression hardened. Then we will be forced to take more aggressive defensive measures. Kethavar studied the treaty terms. They were surprisingly fair, considering the humans' overwhelming military superiority. You would truly honor this agreement? You would not expand into hegemony space? Admiral, we have no interest in your territory, but we will defend our own with everything we have. Chen stood up. There is something else you should know, Admiral. Your surrender saved more than just your fleet. She activated a new display, showing weapons installations throughout the solar system. The weapons you saw were only a fraction of our total defensive capability. We have weapons that could sterilize entire star systems, Admiral. Weapons that could hunt down and destroy every ship in your empire. Kethavar felt his blood run cold. Why are you telling me this? Because I want you to understand the choice your high command faces, Chen replied. They can accept our treaty and live in peace, or they can continue their aggression and face total annihilation. She walked back to the viewing port. Admiral, humans have a saying, peace through strength. We are strong enough to destroy our enemies completely. That strength allows us to offer mercy instead. Kethavar joined her at the viewing port. Admiral Chen, may I ask you a personal question? Of course. Do you believe your species is superior to mine? Chen considered the question carefully. Admiral, I believe every species has strengths and weaknesses. Your people are excellent engineers and disciplined soldiers. You have built an impressive civilization. She paused. But your culture has a fundamental flaw. You believe that might gives you the right to rule others. That belief will eventually destroy you. And humans do not have this flaw? Chen smiled sadly. Oh, we have it. Admiral, we struggle with it constantly. The difference is that we have learned to recognize it as a flaw rather than celebrate it as a virtue. A communication alert sounded. Chen activated her personal communicator. Admiral, we have received a response from the Zephyrian High Command, reported Captain Martinez. Chen looked at Kethvar. Admiral, would you like to hear your government's response? Kethvar nodded, though he feared what he might learn. High Commander Zethral has agreed to negotiate a peace treaty, Martinez continued. He is requesting a formal diplomatic meeting. Chen smiled. Excellent. Captain, please prepare our diplomatic facilities and inform the High Commander that Admiral Kethvar will be present as a representative of the Zephyrian military. After Chen left, Kethvar remained at the viewing port, staring at Earth. In 6 months of imprisonment, he had learned more about humans than years of intelligence. Reports had taught him. They were not the primitive prey species his empire had believed them to be. They were something far more dangerous, a species that had learned to combine overwhelming military power with restraint and wisdom. Dr. Yilan entered his quarters, carrying a datapad filled with her latest research. Admiral, I have been analyzing human cultural and historical data, she said. I believe I understand why the ancients warned against contact with this species. Kethvar turned from the viewing port. Explain. It is not about their weapons or their military strength, she said. It is about their approach to conflict resolution. She activated her display, showing comparative data about various galactic civilizations. Most species follow predictable patterns, Admiral. They expand until they encounter resistance, then either retreat or fight until one side is destroyed. And humans. Humans do something different. They plan for conflicts that may not happen for generations. They prepare for enemies they have not yet met. They develop contingency plans for scenarios that most species would consider impossible. Dr. Yilan highlighted specific examples from human history. They have spent centuries studying warfare, Admiral. Not just how to fight, but when to negotiate, and when to show mercy. You believe this makes them more dangerous than simple aggressors? I believe this makes them impossible to defeat through conventional means, she replied. An aggressive species can be contained or destroyed, but a species that combines overwhelming power with strategic patience, that is something entirely new. Kethvar thought about his conversations with Admiral Chen. The human had demonstrated exactly the kind of strategic thinking Dr. Yilan described. Doctor, what do you believe will happen during the peace negotiations? Dr. Yilan was quiet for a moment. Admiral, I believe the humans will offer us something we have never had before, which is a chance to evolve beyond conquest, a chance to become something better than what we are. 2 weeks later, Admiral Kethvar stood beside Admiral Chen as they watched High Commander Zethral's ship dock with the human diplomatic station. The peace negotiations were about to begin, and the future of both species hung in the balance. As the Zephyrian leader emerged from his ship, Kethvar realized that everything his empire had believed about strength and conquest was about to change. The humans had taught him that true power lay not in the ability to destroy enemies, but in the wisdom to turn them into allies. The galaxy would never be the same.